Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We're continuing with the Oasis build, which, you know what, I've had a lot of fun with this. I'm actually quite a bit ahead, I'm quite a bit ahead by the time that this video's out. I imagine I'm probably done most of the park by the time that this video comes out. Because I upload videos, like I build it and then I upload videos, so I sometimes just make multiple videos for different enclosures. And I base it on how long I've spent doing it, so I tried to make the videos around about 10 minutes to at the most 20 minutes each. It's just more annoying when I have to do voice recordings for 20 minutes and just sit and watch my own gameplay as I read out what's going on. So I prefer it when I only do them for like 20 minutes. Personally though, I do find it rather annoying that I do it for 20 minutes. Because I don't get much done. I feel like I have to rush it, which is really never a good thing. The circles that I'm basically placing now are more like roundabouts. Well, if you live in England or in I think it's just generally European countries, instead of having just a crossroad, it's a roundabout taking you to different places, which it usually makes your part look a bit more interesting, because you can go out from multiple different directions. I see, and this one only went off in two, maximising my amount of space. Which then, after thinking, what can I do with this, because I didn't know what to do, I decided to connect them both together in the middle. Which is a very tedious thing, because you can't just make it so that it goes to it in a perfectly good line. So whenever I'm doing like these fun park builds where I just do whatever I want, I don't really take time to do little bits of path. But on this, I sort of like have to. And I wasn't very happy on how the park was, because it was a bit iffy-do. Especially the enclosure that I build in the middle of it. So I'm just going to say that now because I can't be bothered to say it later on how I built it. So, I built viewing areas for obviously the guests to see, and all around the enclosure, so that I also knew that where I was marking my fences out. In my opinion, though, I prefer to do park tours. It's much less annoying, is what I should say. Actually, there I placed a far range one. In my opinion, though, this is like completely random, nothing to do with the park, but back in Jurassic World Evolution 1, the viewing platforms were so much better because they were a triangle, not just a circle. So actually, your guests would be able to see so far, they just can't see down very well. So it made them very useful. Because even if you wanted them where they could see them up close, you also had it so that they could see them far, but at this point I just get annoyed because I don't build enclosures that are big enough. No, I don't build enclosures that are big enough for using these viewing platforms. But I like to have them anyway, because yes, I do prefer the Jurassic World ones. I think they're just nicer. But I wanted to use Jurassic Park stuff. I feel like Jurassic Park stuff works just as well. Especially for what the original idea was supposed to be. I see, being the original idea, having some sort of Death Valley type thing before I changed it. But I see, when I wanted to do Jurassic Park, I just felt it would fit more. But Jurassic Park can also be quite a calming thing, in my opinion, because it's just simple. There's nothing bright about it. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't bring out the colour in things, unlike Jurassic World. stuff, because honestly the Jurassic World stuff just looks really good. Especially when you're doing such of like a colourful park build, like what I was doing. But I wanted the fences for the Death Valley. I wanted to use some of the viewing towers and stuff if I was to do Death Valley, but now I'm stuck using these. And you know what? I'm not really mad. I'm rather happy about it. Also, guys, for you who are watching, do you, whenever you build parks with vehicles that go around them, do you have them at a, do you actually change how far they travel? Because I generally find it that when you do something like this, where there's a lot of cars going around at once, you kind of can't use lots and lots of cars, so it gets really annoying because there's too many cars in this tiny little enclosure where I just want them to be able to drive through. So it becomes rather annoying. So I end up turning it on to, what is it? 200 meters instead of keeping it as only a couple of meters. Or because you can turn it down to yeah, you can turn it down to 50, which I don't get the point of that if you're going to turn it down to 50, because then your enclosure's just going to be filled. I would, to be fair, I would like to have it so that we can only have one car go round at once, instead of just saying what's the gap, so that it has to wait for the car to come back. Which, I'm alright with the whole 200 meters thing and how far they go, because when you're building something like Jurassic Park, then it makes sense. You won't just have two cars going around the park at once. But when it comes to stuff like this, it can be a bit annoying. And I see, we know that they would have the Jeeps actually in Jurassic Park as a way to get around, but we don't have that here in this game, unfortunately. That was one thing I'd like them to add, to be fair. Because I see we've got 3 options for travel in Jurassic World, and one for, what's it called? DW, I don't know what it's called. DWF, I can't remember. But yeah, I see you only need one for that. You won't have a monorail in it. So yeah. It's rather funny, but I do think they should have Jeeps as an option, instead of just being able to have the voice crack, having the park tours with the railing, or whatever it is that's gone into the ground, because I know that's supposed to be like an electric magnet type thing. When I was a kid, I used to think that that was a system where a rod went into the ground and forced them to go in one direction, like it was sliding, but I realised quickly that that's not what it is, or the cars would drive a lot differently. But I see, I know people would have technically have been driving, and even then, Jurassic Park isn't a real place, so. Actually, with this enclosure, you can only have so many dinosaurs in this enclosure. But no, in this enclosure, I decided to have a Titan and Brachiosaurus because I wanted a big herbivore, giant herbivore, and a rather medium hadrosaur? Is that what they call? I can't remember what they call them. No,